Hey there, welcome to Craftoria. My name is Anish Shankar and I am a professional speaker and storyteller. I created this channel to share my thoughts around how you can craft and perform better speeches. And today, I want to focus on a topic that a lot of people complain to me about and I myself struggle with, that is speaking off the cuff. Impromptu speaking is an important life skill and it happens across whatever whoever you are, whatever you do, at some point you will have to speak off the cuff. And many people complain they have issues around, they are frozen, they don't know what to say, they're not able to organize their thoughts effectively, and so this is a challenging thing. So I want to see how we can tackle and become better at delivering impromptu speeches, especially fighting nervousness and blanking out. Right, that's probably what people most are worried about. That they freeze and they can't say anything and they lose face. So the problem is there is no easy way of doing this. Right, so you have to borrow some ideas from psychology, like exposure therapy, and the way you get more comfortable speaking of the cuff is the more and more you do it, the more and more you become exposed to that. You are standing on stage, you're luxuriating in the stage presence, you're comfortable standing and looking at an audience, and that happens over time, the more and more. So the first time you do it, obviously you're going to struggle. There's no question about it. But what I always tell people is, if you get a minute to speak, don't run away after 10-15 seconds. Stand there. Stand there, look at the audience, try and connect with them. If you need to calm yourself down, use breathing techniques. Right? Take a deep breath. Say you need a moment. Or pause. That's one thing I've seen people, the moment they come on stage, they need to speak, or they're trying to think. I'm saying is, do a pause. Just scan the audience, just look around the audience, make eye contact with people, and just try and establish your presence with the audience. That usually will help calm you down, will slow you down. Your brain, your mind activity may come down, and it may make it easier for you to think and speak. So that's one thing to do. That is, expose yourself more and more to these situations, take up those challenges, and try and speak off the cuff without panicking. It happens over time. Now, let's come to the actual content side of things. So there's a chance that the topic that was given to you or that you need to speak on is something you don't know. So in most cases, if it's a professional setting, let's say you're getting a question about when is this report going to be due by, obviously you don't know what the answer is. You can't make up something. So you give the honest answer. But saying something will not be done is one thing. But understanding the context in which it was asked, giving resolution steps, that presence of mind will help you actually give a better answer to the kind of question you get. Right? So, but let's not go into that professional setting right now. We want to look at something where it's an occasion, or maybe it's a contest and you have to speak off the cuff. Right? And so here you don't have to be, this is not a real life scenario. You just have to speak for maybe a minute or two, maybe the book club or something, and the question that's asked, you have no idea, but you speak for a minute or two. So the technique I use for a situation like this is called the zoom in, zoom out method. So zoom in, zoom out is a technique where, let's take a topic, let's say I'm going to a social occasion, and someone asks me about, hey, did you watch this cricket match between India and Australia? And I'm not someone who watches cricket, I have no idea. I could say no, and that would be the end of conversation. But you could also think, well, okay, well, what is cricket? Like, zoom out of the topic and see the bigger picture. So when you zoom out of the topic and see the bigger picture, you see, well, cricket is a sport. It's a national pastime in India. But sport in general is something that is a wider topic, right? So it could be a physical fitness, it could be a mental well-being, it could be maybe India is a very diabetic country because we are eating a lot of junk food, but we don't get a lot of exercise. And if you focus on well-being, in sports can be a great way of getting us physically fit, healthy, and mentally agile. So now you can zoom out of cricket and focus on that as a topic. Um, you could also think about a cricket match as an event. An event is, of course, when people come together, there's vibrancy, there's fanfare, there's rivalry, there's camaraderie. There are so many other things that you go to that are events. It could be like a theatre play, it could be a concert, it could be a fair, an exhibition, right? So there are all these things that also have the same fanfare of an event, the atmosphere. That is not a cricket match, and so you can talk about that. So zooming out of a cricket match, you can actually think about the universe around it: sports, physical activity, national pastime. You could talk about events, camaraderie, rivalries, those kind of things, right? It could be an alternative sport. Maybe you don't watch cricket, but you watch football, so you can speak about that. No, for some people, the problem is there's just way too much to talk about, right? And they don't know where to start, they don't know how to organize things, they get confused. So for them, I use the zoom in technique. And zoom in is you zoom into, let's say, if it's a match, you don't talk about the entire match, but you talk about that innings that you saw, that or that one shot that a batsman played, or a ball the bowler bowled, and you focus on that, and you say, well, what a beauty it is. And then you talk about the history behind it, or the journey this player has taken. Maybe in last year they were struggling, and this year they're doing a lot better, and how they pick themselves up. So you zoom in onto a certain aspect, you forget everything else, you ignore everything else. It doesn't matter. People don't need to know everything. This is not an encyclopedia. We're not giving a testament of, this is, you're giving your opinion. So you can then zoom in to focus on that one thing that matters to you. So using these two techniques, one of, just exposure therapy, where you put yourself in the situation, constantly doing these impromptu speeches, and two, when you're speaking, you calm yourself down by breathing, by looking at the audience, ask a question, a rhetorical question, and then just keep eye contact. And finally, you apply the zoom in, zoom out technique to ensure what you say, you're able to speak on something, even if you're not immediately acquainted with what it is, or you're not able to structure it. Using the zoom in, zoom out technique, you're able to say something that's coherent and that makes sense and adds value to a conversation. So hope you can use these tips when you have to speak off the cuff next time. And thank you for watching. I'll catch you again.